I'm delighted to say that Stephen Kelly joins us on the line. Good morning to you, Stephen.
Good morning, Adrian. You well?
Good. Thanks a million for taking the call. Before we look ahead to tonight, were you looking at the match last night?
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, it was an interesting game. Well, interesting. Poor from England's point of view when it comes to defensive frailties. Just, I suppose it shows that for all the attacking prowess and forward play that they have, that at the back they're still a little bit suspect, and that's a big area that they need to improve on. It
doesn't necessarily change things greatly from a sort of philosophy point of view, does it? Like, I mean, they don't suddenly go, well, listen, we need to stop playing this out from the back, we need to lump it up.
I can't see it. Like, I think Southgate wants them to play that way. He wants them to have the confidence. He's not going to. He's the manager encouraging it. So if they make mistakes, he has to be the one that says, "Listen, I want you to do that. If you make a mistake, I still want you to do it next time." It's difficult for the players, but the likes of Stones and Barkley, I can't see them changing their philosophy with the way they want to play. They're always going to want to pass it out from the back. It's just sloppiness, concentration levels. I suppose both those players have played a bit this season, but wouldn't have been consistent performers all year for their clubs as well. So that could have played a part. And I think they just need to cut those silly mistakes out. They're both capable of doing it. It's just I suppose, mental frailties that they both possibly seem to have that cause them to have a lapse every now and again.
Stephen, how would you look back on the Nations League as a whole? It's obviously going to conclude this weekend. Has it been a huge boost for international football?
I'm divided, really. I think when you look at, for Ireland's point of view, it was a bit of a disaster. We bombed out of our group and we're technically relegated, which you've never heard a term saying in international football before. So in that sense, it was bad. As promoting international football, it's created a tournament out of what normally should have just been group stage qualifiers. So it's probably made it slightly more interesting and put a little bit more on the plate. And like I said, the team's going to come away with a trophy at the event. So from that point of view, it was good. But I'm not too sure whether it would have boosted things as a whole. I'm sceptical about it. I enjoyed it, but there's so many different variations and what happens and teams going through that it's just a minefield to try and navigate for fans and for pundits and people that are talking about it. So there's that I think that part of it has been what I've found difficult.
Denmark obviously had the game tonight. Stephen, have been laying down the smack a little bit over the last week. They've been talking about how vicious stuff, like about how annoying Ireland are, primarily given the games they've had over the last while.
I've seen, was it Delaney coming from the? I suppose someone that's got some Irish blood in them.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's even talking about how annoying we are and how, I think was the quote that even though the regime has changed, the players haven't changed. So from a player's point of view, that's insulting. That as much as you want to be motivated by the game, but little things like that could motivate you because you're going to feel that you're in a position where you just think that they're insulting you and you want to perform at a higher level. But I think we're going to be much better prepared to do that. We're going to be in a much better place. After the Georgia game, you could see a definite shape about us. We changed our system from the Gibraltar match. We had a setup that allowed us to attack, but also kept a nice rigid shape in front of the back four, and especially with Ericsson, who was obviously going to be their danger man and who we gave too much space when it came to the drubbing in Ireland. He's the one we need to pinpoint and stop him playing because all the good play goes through him. So if we have a nice shape and a nice kind of continuity about us, then we should be able to perform at a better level.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was said, like in relation to that kind of they were annoying. Ireland don't play flowing football, like essentially saying that we're skilled at like breaking it up, scrapping, dogging out results. Like, do we not have to accept some of that is kind of part of our personality, and it's kind of served us well at times?
Yeah, let's face it, we've probably got to most of the major tournaments we've ever been to as a country by being dogged and by being resilient and being a team that's been hard to break down, and teams haven't enjoyed coming to play against us because they found that regardless of the level of opposition. But I suppose from a player's point of view, you always want to feel like you can play, and I think the game against Georgia, I suppose it was one of the best performances I've seen in Irish jersey for a long time. We actually passed the ball, we tried to get on it. Again, this is different opposition. Denmark are a totally different kettle of fish, and we're away from home, so it's going to be a completely different game. But we did show promise in the sense that we were passing and we were moving. We weren't, by no means, the Spain of old or anything, but we showed improvement on what we had been. So, we have to have that dog in the spills. We have to have that resilience that we've always had, and that never say die attitude that's famous for Irish teams. But if you can add a little bit of being able to keep the ball and enjoy spells where you have the ball and stop them just continually attacking you, which would seem to be the case for a lot of the last campaign throughout the National League was just teams bombarding us and we were just trying to get a counter-attack, whereas if you have some sustained possession, it does relieve the pressure a little bit, and I think you can see that's what Mick's trying to achieve with the team.
Yeah, one of the noticeable things as well, Stephen, is that you ask anybody this morning, what do you think the Ireland team is going to be tonight? And they'll probably be right to the minimum of 9 or 10 players, and they can name them all off the tip of their tongue. Not something we could always do under Martin O'Neill's reign. How big a deal is that for the individual players, that they kind of have that knowledge going into the game, that they can focus on other things in their short-term preparation?
Yeah, I think by laying out the team and knowing what it's going to be early on, and the man, like I said, I think Mick, he would have been working on team shape pretty much from the start, because he hasn't had much time with these players, so he wants to nail down a shape, a formula. Everybody knows their role, so the players knowing that they're going to be playing definitely gives you an edge and a little bit of peace of mind, because that's not something you have to worry about. You're going to be told you're playing 60 minutes, an hour before kickoff, or 90 minutes before kickoff. You know, going into the match, you know you've worked on your team shape, so you just feel a bit more comfortable. It's difficult for the players that aren't playing. That's going to be hard, because if you know you're coming into this 23-man squad and that the team has kind of picked itself already, you know the chances they're playing are difficult. So that's hard. So to keep those players motivated is going to be an issue for Mick. But you want to just see players that want to play for a country and want to be there.
Yeah, Shane Duffy was talking during the week just about the idea that the focus of this Irish team, like it seemed like a very pointed comment about the previous regime, to be honest, and he just talked about how they're really focusing on what Ireland can do, they're not focusing on what Ireland can't do, and they're not focusing so much on the opposition. I did wonder about, because you mentioned the Georgia game and obviously the way that game went and the type of football Ireland were playing. I think everybody was really enthused by it. Like, I know the opposition are different and that might dictate something slightly different, but will it be that same kind of approach, do you think? Or like, what are we in for a new, I mean, I don't want to get too carried away by saying a new era of Irish football, but are we in for a new style of Irish football under Mick McCarthy, do you think, against tougher opposition away from home as well?
Yeah, you can see that he's not just putting them on the pitch and saying, listen, keep the ball, play games, you know, try and play better than what you have done. He's given them instructions on how to do that. He's given them a shape on how to do that. He's setting them up in a way that we can have sustained possession. Obviously, it's going to be down to the players having the confidence to get on the ball, and then the manager giving them that confidence. But you know, if the Georgia game is anything to go on, he definitely was encouraging us to have sustained possession and look for the ball and play out through midfield and bring our players into the game. It wasn't so haphazard. It was definitely a system about it, and it was thought about and it was worked on. And like you would hope that the more time he has to spend with them, that's going to improve. Obviously, the better opposition we play against, that's going to be dictated that they're going to have more possession. But when we do get it, being able to keep the ball and not just having, you know, countless attacks and defending and throwing your body on the line, which is very physically demanding but mentally very demanding, and it's hard to be able to sustain that for a whole game. So if there's that point in the match where we can keep it, which it looks like that's the way we're going down, that will definitely help us as a team. And like I said, you've add that into the passion and the never say die attitude and the work rate that Ireland have always had, then that should make for a really nice combination.
When you come up against a team, Stephen, that has so obviously one player that's better than the rest, how is the mentality in the squad before that? How much of a focus is there on that one individual?
Well, let's face it, most teams in the world are chasing Christian Eriksen at the moment, because he's kind of made it clear that he sees his future possibly elsewhere from Tottenham. So when you have a player that's sought after, that's that influential, and that Denmark really depend on, you are going to focus on, but then you have to make sure that you don't let someone else slip through the radar, because you don't want to put all your attentions on him, and then someone else who's got some quality or ability is going to step up and produce for them. So it's difficult not to stay just mainly on him, but you have to make sure that you're looking at the bigger picture as well. But undoubtedly, Mick's going to have somebody that will not mark him, but that was always going to be looking for where he is over the shoulder, make sure he's not getting into those pockets that he finds really well and causes a lot of danger. Another thing that you can't change is his delivery from set plays. You can't stop that. You can't stop. It's just, so I'm sure Mick will be working on us defending set plays, which we should be good at, and it's something that Irish teams and throughout the past have always been decent at. But defending set plays is going to be important, because his quality into the box and his level of delivery is so high that that's something that you can't stop. We can try and stop giving free kicks away in dangerous areas, but inevitably that's going to happen. So when he's on the ball, it's about making sure we're prepared and that we're in a position and everybody's marked up and that people are attacking the ball and we're not letting them get runs on us. So that's something that we have to work on as well.
Stephen, do you not have to make room for his name is totally escaping my mind, Matt Doherty in this team? It seems like he's not going to start tonight.
Yeah, it is a conundrum, and it's something that I suppose when you look at how Ireland is and the group of players we have, you would say that a player that is arguably being our best Premiership player this season, how can he not start? That's the argument. How can he not start in this team? Which is a hugely fair point. But the position he plays for his team is right wing back. We don't play that system. So will he be as effective as a right back or a right winger for us as he is for his team? And more effective than the players that we currently have in that position? I would say he's not going to play ahead against ahead of Seamus Coleman at right back. I think Seamus Coleman is still the better of the two right backs in the team, and he's come on the end of the season, everything kicked on, and he's performed well. So that's his berth. He's the captain of the team. He's always going to play. Is there a position for him in front of him right wing? Against Gibraltar, didn't really work that well, but the conditions were so bad, so it's hard to judge him in that game. But Mick did, and he didn't play him for the next one. So you would think it's going to be very difficult for him to get in the team, and I think if he wants to play, his focus has to be, it's almost a straight up battle with Seamus, which is going to be very difficult because Seamus is a very tenacious lad. He's not going to want to give that place up easily, and he's earned that spot. Anywhere else you can play on the team, I'm not sure. Are you going to change the system of the team to suit one player? Like I've discussed it before, saying if it was Cristiano Ronaldo centre forward that's going to score you a hat-trick like he did last week, or someone that's going to score 30 goals, you change the system and you build a team around them. Are you going to change the system for a right wing-back who's had a very good season in the Premiership? I don't think you're going to do that. You're going to have to play to the strength of the team, not the strength of that one player, and that's extremely difficult for Matt Doherty to take because he has done so well. He's kicked on. He's created a lot of interest in himself. So it's extremely frustrating from an Irish point of view that we can't get him in the team, but where do you fit him in a team that has the players that Mick wants to play in that position?
Yeah, for sure. Like, the point has always been that he likes to play a little bit deeper, coming onto the ball, and ultimately Robbie Brady's better in a more advanced position on the right flank, for example, or Callum O'Dowd, whoever's going to start there tonight. But Dan McDonald was in studio the other morning, and he actually made the point that perhaps Denmark away is the perfect opportunity for him to start, because we'll probably be up against it. He probably will be coming from deeper positions, even if he's playing as a right midfielder, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I think if you're going away to Denmark and away to Switzerland, these games where you're going to have to be defensively switched on and making sure you're tracking players, having two technically fullbacks on one side will only benefit you and help you in a defensive shape. And then, like I said, we will be coming from deeper because you would think that they're going to have a more possession, so we will be going on. But then the problem I found enough, but when I watch the games and analyse the games, is that Matt and Seamus want to make the same sort of runs. So they're very like-minded going forward. They're very similar in how they approach running into the box, running around players, overlapping, underlapping. So do they get in each other's way a little bit? And that's a predicament that you have to solve. And if you play a left-sided player, right wing, they instinctively want to come inside, which then creates a space for your fullback to get around and drags the player off. So you create a bit of, I suppose it's a tactical thing where that player will always want to come inside, always want to look for the space, because they naturally want to go in that way, and that does just create a lot of space for your right full back to get forward. And with someone like Seamus or Matt, if they're playing right back, they will take up that space. So it's very difficult. But again, in a game where we're playing against difficult opposition, having two full backs that can both defend and both get up and down the pitch well could work to our advantage.
Just finally, Stephen, is it a 5-1 or a 0-0?
I'd be edging more towards a 0-0. I think we're definitely better positioned to what we have been before. We seem to be in a better place. The players, mentally, physically, there seems to be a better vibe around the place. We seem to be going into this with a bit more confidence, a bit more knowledge of what we're doing. Everybody will understand the role. I would like to think that we're going to be looking to keep this as close as possible, and possibly nick it, because Denmark could become complacent against it, but you would think that they would know that there's been a change in the garden, that they would have watched the Gibraltar and the Georgia match and seen that we've definitely improved in that sense. So I think it's going to be close. We could nick it. It's not going to be a drubbing like it was before.
Yeah, all right. Stephen, thanks a million. Enjoy the game.
Thanks,
Thanks a lot.
Stephen
Kelly there on the line ahead of that game tonight.